Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Find Your Finish Line, the podcast not only about you finding your finish line at a race or an event, but also in life. And I've got two gentlemen on the line that they found a lot of finish lines in their life, and they're continuing to do that. Before we get into them, remember you can still book for the holidays a personal video recording. Go to MikeRiley.net. Thank you. A lot of you are sending them in now to give gifts for your family and your loved ones on a recording from me. And keep in mind, I've got a couple spots open for advertising next year on the podcast also, so you can contact me at MikeRiley.net. Now we got all that out of the way. My two guests in the special edition of Find Your Finish Line. First guest, Jeff Booher, the founder and CEO of Predictive Fitness, the parent company of TriDot Training, and Mark Allen, the esteemed TriDot coach and six-time IRONMAN World Champion. Hello, man. How are you today?
Oh, fantastic.
Doing great. What a time we're in here. I love it.
I know it. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to bring that up too, Mark. It's you've heard it. TriDot and IRONMAN have a partnership now. The announcement was made just recently about TriDot being the official training platform for IRONMAN and the swim training platform for IRONMAN. And Jeff, I'm going to jump right into it with you because I think some of the most important things to cover is especially how technology and AI, artificial intelligence specifically, is changing the coaching industry, changing the athlete, the way they look at training to be able to train for any type of race, especially a 70.3 on an Ironman. Can you first go into it with us, why you believed TriDot and IRONMAN was going to be a good partnership?
Absolutely. I think, the bottom line, there's no two organizations in the sport, I think, that don't have more alignment with their objectives with training and racing. We want to get people to the finish line healthy more often, safely have better experience. From the training side, having athletes get the most out of each and every training hour. Their time is precious, time away from family and career and all the other things in life. So we want to keep them injury free and just be able to get to that finish line. I think that's the same thing for Ironman. They wanted to have that great athlete experience from registration day to race day. So I think it's really cool that we're able to come together and in a lot of ways collaborate to improve that, bring what we've been working on for 20 years. And then, multiple decades, Ironman's built this just incredible experience, a brand and thing that people, sacrifice and put a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into training for it. And we want to make that investment that they make pay off as much as possible.
And when we did the video, I had the honor to be a part of the video on the announcement. I said something about it's changing the landscape of triathlon and training. And this is the first partnership. I ask you, Mark, because you've been around the sport a long time. This is the first partnership where it's really to the benefit of the athletes and coaches, not some sign being up at a race or, hey, buy my product. It digs deep into the athletes and coaches. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really since around 2004, 2005, had discussions with Ironman saying, hey, let's figure out a way to incorporate some kind of training guidance, training platform, something that helps the athletes swim, bike, and run so that when they enter a race, it's not this mystery like, what do I do? Or which coach should I get? Or how do I optimize my time? How do I get to the finish line? And it's taken years, and I've had a lot of discussions with Andrew Messick since he's come on board as the CEO. And we've both agreed for many years, like Ironman needs to have some way of actually really helping guide their athletes through that whole training journey from start to finish, like Jeff said, from registration to race day. And but there's never been the right platform. There's never been the right company that can actually service the worldwide family of Ironman athletes until TriDot. I came on to TriDot in about a year and a half ago. And, Jeff, he can speak to it, but Predictive Fitness and TriDot, they've been around for many, many years, and sort of, I guess you'd say, gestating and testing and really fine tuning all of the algorithms and the way that they analyze data, and then making sure that that type of analysis of all these numbers can actually be transformed into a digestible piece of information that a coach or an athlete can use to forward their training in a better way. And so anyway, when I came on in 2022, early 2022, that really seemed to be the kickoff of this sort of phase. And it's taken a year and a half, and now finally having the partnership with Ironman. For me, this is like the ultimate full circle, because I raced for many years. I've coached for even more years than I competed. And I have a love and a passion for both of those things, but I also have a passion for Ironman and for helping others to really have a great experience. And one of the ways to have the best experience possible is to have really good training. And so with TriDot, with Ironman, this, like you said, I'm rambling, but I'm coming back to what you said. You said this is really something that it's a partnership that's going to help the athletes, and I couldn't agree more.
So Jeff, we've talked about it, and I've seen you write about it. That you want to be able to alleviate the fear among coaches, the fear of maybe changing to TriDot, and that they need to be educated and understand what it is. What steps now are you going to take in that education process for the coaches to help our athletes?
Yeah, we're not going to do anything that we haven't already been doing. We have a great team of full-time staff that just helps coaches on board. It's very seamless. We have coaches bringing 60 plus athletes over in just a few days. It's real easy. Coach, the education is great. One of the biggest things as we reach more, and like Mark mentioned, when he came over, there's so many people that said, "Okay, wait a minute. I've heard a lot of hype, and there's AI, and I don't know what that is, but man, if Mark Allen is doing this, I'm going to check it out." And so we got a lot of attention, and that had more and more coaches and athletes, taking a look and realizing what we do is different. And that at first, you're exactly right. I think a lot of coaches are fearful of AI and the mystery of it. They don't understand it. They think it's going to take away from their coach or replace them. And it's, nothing of the kind. We've always had coaches. We will always have coaches in the future. It actually puts the coaching back in to coaches, allows them to have more time for that. Plan generation is a back office task. That's something that technology can do better. And we don't need a person crunching numbers. Technology is made for that, made for the data. We have data from 150,000 athletes, and we're looking at all kinds of crazy stuff to be able to do something that a human can't do, a coach can't do, prescribe that training, and it frees the coach up to work more with the athlete, the mental, psychological side of things, education, form, prioritization, dealing with injury, nutrition. I mean, there's countless things that are so high value that only a person can do. Building a relationship with them, showing that you care, all of those things, the mental, the anxiety when it gets up to race day, goal setting. And those things get skipped or shortchanged when the coach is spending all their time tinkering with, whatever their theory was or whatever their theory or template or whatever they were taught, 30 years ago. There hadn't been that advancement in technology in our space in 30 years. Honestly, it's the same thing. People are using the same methodologies that came out in a book almost 35 years ago. And we see all the other industries are being impacted by technology, and they're learning to adapt and do things differently and provide high value. And that's what we're able to bring. Like, Mark mentioned, it's athlete focused and coach focused, being able to provide. That's the core part of our industry: race directors, athletes, and coaches. That's what it's all about. If we can support them, Mark can go out and win Ironman 6 times and set all these records and inspire people. I can't do that. But I know something about technology and my team, and we can build that and provide that value for coaches and athletes and help grow our sport and make that much more of a enjoyable experience for them.
Well, Mark, I know when you came on board with TriDot, obviously you assess who they are, investigate the whole deal. And then I read something about you saying, my goodness, when I finally looked under the hood and found out what these training tools were all about, you said you wish you had it when you were training. Do these training tools for coaches and athletes and for coaches, are they now able to handle more athletes without taking more time out of their day? Because we want as many people training on the platform as possible. Everybody does, but will it help the coaches do that because of the numbers game of being able to handle as many athletes as possible?
Yeah, I mean, to back up a little bit, my business partner, Scott Zagarino, had been searching for a company that would allow me to sort of free up some of my time that I was needing to do as a coach to analyze all of the data that came in from each athlete's training plan. I mean, back when I raced, as you know, Mike, we had a speedometer on the bike and a stopwatch on our wrist for the track, and that was about it.
And you had Post-its you put up on
the data was. Yeah, the data was like nothing, and then the heart rate monitor came in, but still, that there's like decades where that's all there was that was generated, and then all of a sudden, you've got things that are measuring power and cadence and temperature and distance, and like so much stuff that comes in from each athlete's workouts that is valuable information if you can sort of crunch it and make sense of it in a way that, as a coach, doesn't take your every ounce of brain power to do it. And so anyway, I needed somebody that had the capability to do that, and because my coaching platform wasn't able to do that, and I knew that if I didn't find somebody, I'd be left in the dust. And so anyway, Scott Zagarino found TriDot and looked into it and had spoken with Jeff and got a good explanation of what was going on with it. And so I went on and kind of looked at it, and I thought, I don't know. It's a little different than the way I coach athletes, and it looks sort of, I don't know, is it really that much to it, And little did I know what was under the hood, and I actually had a call with Jeff that I thought was going to be like a little 20-minute, greet and grill kind of call. And I think it turned into probably a couple hours, and he was, he really went into what was behind everything that gets generated with TriDot, how that was going to help me as a coach. And then it blew me away, like, oh my God, this is the future of coaching. And anybody who does not have access to this is going to be completely, they're going to talk about being called old school overnight. That's what's going to happen to everybody who's not on it. And so I brought all my athletes over, and of course they were grumbling like, "Oh, this is a little different than you had us do before," And I'm like, "Just try it. Just try it." I mean, the proof is going to be in the pudding, right? Like if my athletes who I've been coaching for years come over to TriDot and they fall off the face of the planet and they get really slow, well, TriDot sucks. But you know what happened? Every single one of them was hitting PRs. I mean, my list of PRs from my longtime athletes who I had some pretty good results from, all of a sudden they're PRing in distances and times that they haven't done in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So the proof is in the pudding, it works. And so anyway, getting back to your question, as a coach, what this has allowed me to do is to actually do more coaching of my athletes than I have ever been able to do in my career, because my daily time is not taken up generating training plans and trying to figure out what all of the data meant that came in every day. That part is taken care of through the AI, which that's what AI should do. It should do a lot of the thinking for you, the analyzing for you, and then as a coach, I can relay that to my athletes. I can help them to understand what this stuff is meaning and where maybe we need to correct, and I can do the conversations that help build their emotional confidence. I can just make it fun for them, and on a day-to-day basis, I have interaction with all of my athletes, and this is something that I never had the time to do before. And so, as a coach, it's the most valuable tool that I have been partnered with to help me be a better coach.
We're talking to Jeff Booher, the CEO of TriDot Predictive Fitness and to Mark Allen about the incredible announcement of the Ironman TriDot partnership. You both are very knowledgeable about the other training platforms that are out there. They've been out there a long time. And Mark, on your side, you've got a lot of former pros that are using those platforms. Either one of you can answer this. Well, what do you say to them? How do you bring them over? What do you codger with them? Do you say, you know what? Don't be old school. And nobody wants to be called old school. But how would you convince those people that they got to really take a look at TriDot?
Jeff, why don't you go for that one?
Yeah, I can answer from I don't take a different approach with any caliber of athlete at all. I just, when we educate them on what the platform does, some of the things that Mark mentioned earlier with all the data coming in and whether it's heart rate or power or these different things, that's the very tip of the iceberg, the very tip of the iceberg. And those are things that a coach can see and understand. And so they picture themselves doing those. What our AI is able to do is it's able to environment normalize that data. If you have an athlete working out at altitude or in the morning inside and it's 60 degrees or 80, 90 degrees in the afternoon and humid, it's going to adjust for those variants. So it's prescribing different training paces and zones based on their environment and then analyzing it when it comes in based on that difference. It's looking at the difference when you have a 60-year-old athlete or a 30-year-old athlete, how much improvement is good and how much load can you give them? And not just load or power, but breaking that down by muscular stress and neural stress and threshold stress and aerobic stress over an individual session or microcycle, mesocycle. Coaches don't have the ability to measure stress specifically by energy system or type. And it's different for different ages. It's different for male and female. It's different at your performance level. Higher performance level is different than lower performance level, your years in the sport. We pull in your genetics. If you have your genome done with 23andMe or Ancestry, we'll look at 23 different genes, looking at your injury predisposition, your recovery rate, inflammation rate, trainability. How do you respond to what kind of training? What is your aerobic potential? That's just a few of the things that we're looking at. And if you can think of how much more specific and personal a training plan can be, and how much more likely or less likely athletes are to get injured, if they can have exactly what they need for them and measure that fatigue factor and exactly what they need, you're just going to get a lot better product. If you don't have that, you're just guessing. You're seeing results in a window. You don't know how to quantify the training stress, and you don't know how much is due to fatigue or age or environment or genetics or anything else. You're just guessing. And so you're making very much more obtuse choices. Best you can based on what you see. And that's what coaches have always done and what they're used to. But when they see what's possible and what machines can do, what AI can do, it just takes it to a whole nother level. It's just an apples and oranges comparison. So when they see that, they start, I don't know what changing their tune is exactly the right word, but they just they have the confidence. They want to be able to trust it, and it's hard to trust something that you don't understand. Sometimes they fear change. That's a big thing, change. So you show them how it's easy, how they have the support. We're a very collaborative community of coaches. We're on there in small groups, learning from each other, sharing with each other. So I think, and then there's another aspect. There's a lot of coaches out there that have built their whole reputation on their ability to write a training plan, and so there's this identity that they have with that ability. And I've believed forever. I'm a coach. I started off as a coach, 20 years ago. That a coach is not a plan. A coach is a person, and a plan can be reproduced and done better with technology. And so coaches need to see all of the other aspects of coaching that they're missing out on, and that's what their athletes want the most. And if they can let go of the plan part a little bit and trust and be skeptical, but try it out and see it, test it, and then have that confidence, and they can still come back in and move and tweak and do whatever they want to do with it. But if that heavy lifting is done for them and they're able to spend so much more time in all these other aspects, their athletes are going to benefit and their PRs are going to go through the roof. The story that Mark just shared is what all of our coaches share. And it's just really gratifying, I guess, to see that.
I'm remembering.
Yeah, ditto.
I'm remembering the old adage of embrace the change, then the change will embrace you. So in other words, just take a look at it and see what it's all about. All right. Hey, the number one trepidation in the sport is the water, is swimming. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have to go in the water. I've seen I've seen the looks on their faces as they've already prepared for the race as they get in the water. So Jeff and Mark, you've been to the pool schools. I've been to the pool schools. I was a naysayer at first until Jeff said, get out to the one in San Diego. And I started seeing some of the percentages of the times people were taking off that 100. And so you also are going to take care of the Ironman swim program. Why is that different than the training? Is it going to be two separate things? How's that going to work?
They're separate but interrelated a little bit. It's its own program. We have those across the U.S., many different cities across the U.S., and we're have a couple now in UK and building those in EU. And the thought there is to have, it's a very highly, like you mentioned, is a very highly effective way to get very, very good at swimming in a way that your form does not deteriorate. It's like a real flaw resistant form of swimming. The average improvement is 12.5% across. That's more than 1,000 athletes so far in this past year went through it, and 12.5% improvement, which is massive. Mark went from I think a 110 to a 104 in a weekend. And so to be able to do that,
no way Mark Allen can swim a 104. You're telling me he did? Wow. He's still a stud.
He did at that San Diego pool.
Yeah, so, I went into pool school because I'd heard the great results, and I thought I was a competitive swimmer for 12 years, you know, and I had heard that it didn't matter if you were a great swimmer or a lousy swimmer, that everybody got improvement. I'm like, okay, you know, I came from that paradigm of if I could get a half a second or a second hundred per 100 faster, that was amazing. And so, you know, a 4-hour session one afternoon and the next day, another 4 hours or whatever it was. Anyway, over the course of a weekend, I improved 9.5% from my, test time before and the test time after. And it was absolutely incredible. It's one of the most valuable things that anybody who swims can do to just get better. And, you know, you don't have to be more fit. You're just working on mechanics in a way that no other program has ever been able to do. And that's another one of the genius pieces that Jeff has put together for triathletes.
Yeah. So Mark, I'm going to have you,
and you mentioned,
go ahead, Jeff.
Mike, real quick, they're separate. But the way that they're kind of together is we've built that not just for us to do them, but we're partnering with local coaches, and we're setting up these local teams and going to them and helping them get it started with their local pool. And so they're going to be on deck working with their other coaches in their community, collaborating together, bringing their athletes, and they can refer athletes that they may coach, you know, virtually in different places. They can go to pool school. They know what they're getting at, you know, high quality there, but we're building those local community of coaches and giving them a methodology, something they can plug into. They only have, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 athletes, but if all the coaches pool their efforts and pool their athletes and we coordinate it together, we can provide really, really high value to athletes and continue to develop and enhance a great coach community too.
Mark, putting your Ironman hat on, this is, you and I have talked about it. You know, Ironman is the big gorilla in the room. They've done an incredible job at putting on a lot of races. Operation wise, I think it's some of the best in the world. But they always have the naysayers out there and the negative thought and, hey, they take our money, they do this, they do that. Do you see this as I don't want to say a feather in the cap for Ironman, but something that, because you mentioned to it earlier about you and Andrew having these talks, you know, long ago, that they just really realized they can't do everything themselves and they need help in this area, and TriDot is the perfect fit?
Yeah, you know, Ironman has known for years that if athletes get guidance in their training, that they have better experiences in the racing, and the better their experiences at the races, the more likely they have it that they'll come back and do other races. You know, it'll become more of a lifestyle instead of just a one-off bucket list kind of a thing. And so Ironman has tried a number of ways to sort of help provide that guidance to athletes. And so far, they fell short. You know, there was nothing that really stuck as far as being able to really go out to the broad base of athletes and give them training or enough coaches to support the athletes who are doing the events. Like if you look at the number of athletes worldwide who do Ironman races and number of, let's say, Ironman University coaches, it's a small number of coaches who are actually helping those athletes out.
Mm-hmm.
But Ironman has known for years that there's got to be a way that we can really do something to help them and to go, here it is, And so TriDot is the perfect platform for that for a number of reasons. One, it's a platform that's scalable. Secondly, for sure, TriDot, in my opinion, does more to help develop coaches and help coaches develop their coaching business than anybody else out there. And so I know that TriDot will probably be doing a lot of activity to help the coaches worldwide bring this to their athletes. And it's just for me, it's a great, like I said, it's a full circle to be able to be involved with the first time that Ironman has actually partnered with a company to help bring coaching training to the Ironman athletes. And Ironman realized they're not a technology company. They're an event production company. They're a sport entertainment company, but they're not a coaching company, and they're not a technology company. And so, with TriDot, you have that great marriage of many years of experience. It's not like TriDot just came onto the scene 2 or 3 years ago. Jeff has been working on this for decades, and it's finally taken the form that it has now, which is a public way for athletes to engage in some great training and great coaching. And so, like Jeff said, I think this is going to go on for a long time, way beyond whatever the terms are of this agreement. And I'll be honest, the real gorilla in the room are the people that when they hear a new announcement about a partnership with Ironman, they go, "Oh, Ironman just is doing this for the money," or it's what is it? How's it going to help me? Well, this is probably the biggest partnership that will help athletes out directly. And so I'm super excited that I got in kind of in the very beginning of when TriDot was really kind of went like this. And now, after being involved with Ironman for 41 years, actually, to see this come together like this, and to have like the three of us talking about it, and to, I'm really looking forward to 2024 and way beyond, as people, I've told people, like, be skeptical, ask questions, see what this is all about. But at the same time, at some point, give it a deep dive and see what you think. Try it out as an athlete and as a coach. And I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised, and you're going to go, okay, Ironman, you did a good one on this partnership.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So they're out there, Jeff. You've got a lot of athletes and coaches. Where do they go first to find out about this? They're sitting at home going, okay, do I go to tridot.com? Am I going to talk to anybody? How do I get through the website? So how are you directing them?
There's a lot of easy ways to get there. TriDot.com is probably the easiest. There's a little start free button. If you're on the Ironman site, you go under the training tab, you'll find us there too. So it'll guide them to TriDot. When they sign up, they can start with a free trial for 14 days. During that process, they're kind of guided through how to do everything. We actually have TriDot 101 classes, kind of live sessions where we're a small group and we're actually walking people through things. We have a little help button. Real people are going to answer your questions. Real people are going to get back to you and support you, whether you're a coach or an athlete. So it's very, very easy to get ramped up and get going. And we have a great community. I know our I Am TriDot Facebook group. I think we're a little bit over 20,000 athletes in there, and they're full of support and encouragement. It's just a very healthy, great place to be. If you want to pop in there and say, "Hey, I'm checking out TriDot. Does it really work?" And see what 20,000 people tell you. That's kind of back to what Mark says, the proof in the pudding. And then many people are there, or just like whatever athlete is checking out, whatever performance level, age, anything.
Right.
There's many people just like them that have been through the process, just gotten started, and they're just so happy with the results. They're happy to pay it forward and to be encouraging and answer questions, and however they can to support each other. It's just a
So
wonderful community.
this is a global deal. Are we, doing all the languages and making it easier for all the EU athletes and Asia and down under?
Yeah, we are. We are. We're doing quite a bit. We have several hundred coaches already prior to the Ironman deal, and we're growing there for sure. We have coaches in every region. We have local leaders and mentors in every region that are growing those athletes in those local languages and being able to communicate with them. We're almost finished with having local languages in the app itself.
Hmm.
And so we'll start out with 3 or 4 languages. I don't know exactly which ones first, so I don't want to set any expectation, but that is the ability is there, and so we should turn that on in the next couple of months, so that athletes are able to train and coaches are able to train and converse with their athletes in their native tongue.
Mark, any final words on this?
Just triathlon is a sport that is still relatively young, and it's a sport that has continued to evolve. We saw that, let's say, with Ironman, with the World Championships, and how that's changed. And initially, like when it was announced that Ironman would separate the men and women's race and have two different days and 2 different continents, for the World Championship, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is a bad idea. We should keep it the way it's been." And there is that nostalgia feeling, like we get comfortable and familiar with a certain way of doing things, and that feels like that's the best way to do stuff, right? And that goes to actually coaching and training. Like, you've trained a certain way for a bunch of years, and your coach has you doing a certain types of workouts all the time. You get comfortable doing that, and you think this is the best way to do it. But ultimately, everything evolves, and we saw, like with the World Championship this year, especially the women's race. Well, both races, Nice, iconic, amazing. The bike course was phenomenal. Just the whole energy around Nice and the support of the race. The men's performance is incredible, and then the women just jumped it up a couple more notches in Kona this year. Clearly, that change has been an amazing thing for Ironman and for the sport. And I think this is another level of something that it's new. It is change. Athletes and coaches, we're sort of right on the verge, I think, with a lot of sort of, let's say, AI and chat GPT and stuff. Everybody's a little nervous, like, okay, is this going to take over humanity, or are humans going to be tossed on the side, and we're going to be like that, some of those futuristic movies where we just become these big fat blobs that sit around and everything else is taken care of with machines. Well, no, this is sort of like going from the stethoscope to the MRI machine. You know what I mean? It's like it's a great way that's going to enhance everybody's training, racing, community. And I think you're going to see, if your coach comes over to TriDot, if they're not already on there, that they're going to have more time for you, to help you as a person, as an athlete. And with Ironman, obviously, it's a worldwide family, and so I'm just really excited for all of our athletes, TriDot athletes, Ironman athletes, those who are on it, those who are not, those who might come on, and I just hope everybody gives it a try.
Jeff, any final words on it all?
Ditto to what Mark said.
You owed him one on that. That's
Exactly.
right.
I did. Couldn't be sad. I can't improve upon that. He's the GOAT for a reason.
All right. Well, everyone, the TriDot Ironman partnership is something you should take a hard look at. As Jeff said, go to tridot.com. It's an easy navigation, 15-day free trial. Give it a chance. Change is good. Change is inevitable. And I think you all should check it out. And as I said before, I don't know of any other partnership in all my years, and Mark dittoed this, is that really is of the benefit of you. Not just a sponsor banner and money in the bank, but the benefit of you. So check out this new TriDot IRONMAN partnership with all the great training tools. And thanks for listening to the special edition, everybody. Jeff and Mark, thank you very much for coming on short notice. I'm glad we got this out. Happy holidays. Always remember, you don't have to get a workout in today, but you should get one in tomorrow. Have a great holiday, everyone. Aloha.